You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. Today's topic is the Book of Joel. Before we dive in, a quick Jewish-style apology about pronunciation. My Hebrew may sound like it ordered falafel in the wrong neighborhood, tipped poorly, and still asked for extra tahini. The facts are real, the stories are real, but the voice is an AI voice doing its best, so please forgive any linguistic sins in advance. Now let's talk about Joel, one of the shorter prophetic books, which is great news for anyone with a modern attention span, trained by streaming apps, short videos, and microwave popcorn. Joel is small but intense, like a double espresso in a tiny cup. He packs warnings, hope, poetry, and drama into just a few chapters, proving once again that Jewish tradition mastered concise messaging long before character limits existed. That efficiency makes him surprisingly relevant today, especially for listeners juggling busy lives everywhere right now globally. The Book of Joel lives in the section of the Hebrew Bible known as the prophets, and Joel himself is a bit mysterious. We don't get a detailed backstory, a royal resume, or even a clear timestamp. Joel just shows up, drops some spiritual truth bombs, and leaves. Think of him as an ancient version of a viral commentator who appears, shakes the internet, and disappears without linking a profile. What we do know is that Joel is speaking to a community facing crisis, specifically a devastating plague of locusts. These are not cute animated bugs from kids' movies. These are crop-destroying, economy-crushing, end-of-civilization insects. In an ancient agrarian society, a locust invasion meant no food, no income, and no safety net. Joel takes this real disaster and uses it as a wake-up call, saying this isn't just bad luck. It's a moment for reflection, change, and reconnection. He frames catastrophe as a spiritual notification alert, demanding attention immediately. One of Joel's central messages is about collective responsibility. This is not a finger-wagging sermon aimed at one bad actor. Joel talks to everyone. Leaders, elders, priests, regular people, and probably that one neighbor who never returned your casserole dish. Joel calls for communal introspection, fasting, and prayer. The idea is that when things go wrong, Judaism often asks not who messed up, but what can we fix together? It's less courtroom drama and more group chat intervention. Joel believes that communal action has power, that people acting together can actually shift reality. In modern terms, think less individual unsubscribe button and more coordinated community response. Joel isn't saying bad things happen because you personally forgot to recycle. He's saying society needs a reset, and that reset starts with honesty, humility, and shared effort. It's a very Jewish approach, emphasizing community over isolated blame, connection over accusation. Joel is also famous for some truly cinematic imagery. He describes the locust like an invading army, complete with noise, movement, and fear. It's less nature documentary and more apocalyptic blockbuster. You can practically hear the dramatic soundtrack. This vivid language isn't just for flair. Joel wants people to feel the urgency. He's saying this is serious, pay attention, don't scroll past this message. But here's the twist. Joel doesn't stay in doom mode forever. He pivots. After warning comes hope. After crisis comes repair. Joel introduces the idea that sincere repentance leads to restoration. Crops can return. Joy can return. Stability can return. It's the ancient equivalent of saying the system crashed, but the backup worked, and recovery is possible. Joel's message is that spiritual responsiveness can actually reboot the world when things feel broken. One of the most quoted lines from Joel talks about the Spirit being poured out on all people. Sons, daughters, elders, young people, everyone gets access. This is radical stuff for the ancient world. Joel imagines a future where spiritual insight is not limited to elites or professionals. It's democratized. Everyone gets a login. Everyone has access. In modern language, Joel is talking about open source spirituality. No paywall, no exclusive membership tier, no premium subscription required. This idea becomes incredibly influential later, echoing through Jewish thought and beyond. Joel is saying that connection to the divine is not reserved for a select few, but available to the entire community. It's inclusive, expansive, and surprisingly modern. He envisions a world where inspiration flows freely, breaking down barriers of age, gender, and status, long before inclusion became a buzzword. Joel also introduces the idea of a future day of judgment, often called the Day of the Lord. Now, before you imagine fireballs and dramatic movie trailers, think of it more like a cosmic performance review. Joel sees a time when actions matter, when justice is evaluated, and when the world is held accountable. But again, this isn't about fear for fear's sake. Joel pairs judgment with fairness and moral clarity. He believes wrongdoing is noticed, but so is goodness. In a world that can feel chaotic and unfair, Joel reassures listeners that actions count. History isn't random. There's a moral arc, and it bends toward accountability. It's not about obsessing over punishment, but about affirming that choices shape outcomes, both individually and collectively, which is a very grounding message. Culturally, the Book of Joel shows up in Jewish life in subtle but meaningful ways. Portions are read during times of communal fasting and reflection, especially when communities face hardship. Joel becomes a voice that helps frame crisis not as abandonment, but as a call to reconnect. He gives language to moments when people feel shaken and searching. Even if you've never opened the Book of Joel directly, his themes echo through Jewish liturgy, thought, and communal instincts. The idea that we respond to trouble with reflection, solidarity, and hope is very much Joel's legacy. He helps explain why Jewish communities often respond to adversity by organizing, supporting each other, and asking deep questions instead of giving up or pointing fingers. From a storytelling perspective, Joel is a master of emotional pacing. He grabs attention with disaster, deepens it with moral reflection, and resolves it with hope. It's basically a 3-act structure that screenwriters would envy. Setup, conflict, resolution. Joel just did it a few thousand years early. His ability to move from fear to optimism makes the book feel balanced, not preachy. He doesn't deny pain, but he refuses to let pain be the final word. That balance is probably why Joel still resonates. Life has locust moments. Careers stall, plans collapse, systems fail. Joel acknowledges that reality, but insists that renewal is possible if people engage honestly and collectively. So why does Joel matter today? Because he speaks to moments of disruption. Whether it's climate anxiety, economic uncertainty, or feeling overwhelmed by constant bad news, Joel offers a framework. Acknowledge the problem. Come together. Reflect. Repair. Hope. It's not a magic fix, but it's a roadmap. Joel doesn't promise instant solutions or viral miracles. He promises that meaning and renewal are possible when people face reality together with humility and courage. That's a message that ages extremely well. Joel reminds us that even ancient texts understood that resilience is built through community, honesty, and the willingness to change course when necessary. As we wrap up, remember that the Book of Joel may be short, but it's mighty. It teaches that crisis can be a teacher, that community is a strength, and that hope is not naive. It's strategic. Joel invites listeners to see challenges not as endings, but as invitations to reset and reconnect. Thank you for listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please forward it to a friend who might like it, or leave a positive review so others can find the podcast. And if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to get new episodes delivered early and for special bonus episodes.